Hey, Nicole, how are you?
I'm good. Happy morning, Eric.
Yeah, morning. Yeah, we are doing this early today. I don't know if I'm up for it. I got my coffee though.
You're good. You're good. I have fresh makeup on. So actually, mornings are good because when I do
You
the
know
eat.
what? You are glowing. Holy smokes.
Oh no. Eric's
Wait, leave
camera
all
has
this in.
moved. Do
And you get to see you can't really see my setup, but it's pretty you know what?
you have books holding it up? And there you go. Perfect.
Am
We're
I good?
Yeah, you look good.
We have a very high-tech operation here. I mean, this is like Avatar levels. It's all green screen,
Yeah.
and we're
Well,
shooting this underwater.
I was gonna say in space. Mm.
Okay. Yes, definitely James Cameron is producing this for us.
Yeah, that's why we have such a big following.
Ah! All both of you people watching. Yeah, just like Avatar, isn't it?
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Whoa, let's get into the show.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, welcome to the Real Agents Podcast, a weekly podcast where our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to talk about life, real estate, and everything in between. So if you like your insight and information shaken and not stirred, well, then this is the podcast for you. That's Nicole Dash,
And that's Eric Carrington. And
and
we
we
are
are the Real Agents.
nice. Good.
I'm not even going to say it, but it gets better every time.
I know. So
How's your
Eric,
week been?
oh, it's been good. My little Savannah turned 6 months old this week. She is we went to the doctor. She's in the 28th percentile, so she's a peanut. But she's
Yeah,
growing.
that's oddly specific percentile
It
there,
is
isn't
an
it?
oddly specific percentile, but it's fine. I have some of my kids were peanuts. She's growing beautifully. And then I had like my oldest was like 99 percentile. So I've had both ends of the spectrum. I
Okay,
don't even
yeah. So I'm trying to wrap my head around that. The higher the percentile, the bigger the baby,
yeah, the
right?
bigger they are on average for their, I guess, age. Um,
Okay.
so she's
So what does that mean when they say I'm in the top 1% of my class? I'm the smartest.
you're the smartest.
So if I'm the top 1 percentile of babies, I'm the smallest.
Lois.
Well, no, I
Lois,
said
yeah.
top. So you'd be.
I don't know.
I don't
Honestly, some
understand
of that is just crazy because I don't think it doesn't translate to anything, honestly, at all in future life.
math.
Like you could be in 25 percentile when you're 6 months old and then be like this massive 6 foot whatever kid,
Well, I will tell you this, that both of my boys, I think, were in that 99 percentile. And one of them is legitimately a monster. I won't tell you which one. Uh, and the other one is, yeah, they're both over 6'3", 6'4", something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it did kind of work out that way for them, I think.
Well, my oldest, he was 99th percentile, always so big. Everyone was like, he's going to be so tall. He's going to be so big. And then his fresh, and every sports team, he always played up because he was big for his age, just consistently. Then he got to freshman year of high school, and I'm watching him playing football on the field, and I'm looking for him, like trying to find him on the field. And I'm like, wait, he's the smallest one. What happened? I mean, he's like 5'10", so he's not like super small, but he kind of maxed out at some point. We were like, oh, and his dad is like 6'1" and his uncle 6'2". So I thought for sure he'd be taller, but I brought the genes down. I brought it
you
down. So
you 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 stifled that
I
growth
did.
gene.
I did. I
Yeah.
totally
That's what moms are for. Good job, mom.
like sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I
It's
ruined it.
okay. No, my kids, I don't know where they get it from because I'm 6 foot. If you ask anybody, I'm going to tell you I'm 6 foot tall. But they're
That's fine.
both,
A long time ago you were.
yeah, yeah. Both my kids are like 6'11", something like that. Yeah, they're both huge, and I got to look up to them. I legitimately was trying to hug my oldest last night. Separate story. in its own right, but could not get my arms around him. The dude's so massive. He should be proud of himself. And I'm looking at his face right now, and he looks totally embarrassed. Why would you be embarrassed? I wanted to hug you.
Teddy bear.
Nothing wrong with that.
They're always our babies. This is the thing they don't understand. It doesn't matter how old they are, how big they are. They're just always going to be our little babies.
As long as they need anything from us, they will be our babies.
That's true. Yeah.
All right. Well, enough about our big fat kids, and how about real estate? I got a question for you. I've been putting together a lot of offers this month, and it's been really, really tough. I think if I had to put a number on it, and I probably should be able to put a number on it, I think in the last 2 months, I've written probably 10 offers.
Wow.
Yeah. And won half of them. So that's pretty good.
That's a great
I'll take those numbers any day of the week.
Yeah.
But when putting together an offer, it's so hard to determine what the seller is ultimately what's ultimately going to catch the seller's eye. So you, as a listing agent, I ask you, what's most important for the sellers typically? Is it going to be bottom line price, or is it going to be terms along with price? Rent back situation, contingencies. I know it's a combination of two, but what pushes a seller to take your offer? Is it typically better terms or better price?
Good question. So honestly, when we have the luxury of picking and choosing between offers, right? When we are in that position, and right now in this moment we won't always be the sellers. It really is a combination of both. But the thing that all of my clients want is just reassurance and predictability that it will go to close, right? So yes, they want the best price. And if they need a rent back, they want that for free, right? I mean, those are things.
Yeah.
So they don't have to pay any extra. They don't want to pay for a warranty. They don't want to pay for, but they want to make sure there's the least amount of contingencies, because they want to make sure that this thing is really going to close. Like if they're going to accept your offer, take it off the market, they want to have some assurance as much as possible that you are serious and you're going to do this. Because, they have their own plans on what's next. So whether they are waiting to sell to buy, or they have already purchased something, it's a whole domino impact if it falls apart at appraisal. So if someone's waived appraisal or financing, then that's almost as good as cash, right? When there's no contingencies holding them down. And so to me, that's the answer. It's like the terms matter as much, if not sometimes more, than the bottom line.
So I had an interesting one last week where we won over because of the free rent back, and our free rent back only extended an extra I think it was like 10 days over the one that lost, and we also weren't the highest offer. It was an escalation clause, and we were escalating at just under $3,000 per escalation, where the escalation that was going higher than us was only escalating at $1,000 per escalation. So when you did the math, if that higher escalation was going to win, it wasn't going to win by enough to offset the rent back. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. So the seller thankfully actually did the math, figured it out, asked us to push our escalation up one more escalation than we had originally planned to do. And the numbers just worked out. And I thought that was just interesting that they actually took the time to not just look at the numbers on the sheet of paper and say, okay, this one's better. They did the math and figured out that it really wasn't better. They weren't escalating high enough to justify taking them over ours. And there was that extra 10 days that they could get out of us that they couldn't get from this other offer. And I really appreciated that this agent, in this time where it's so easy just to take the highest offer, it's so easy just to go, yeah, this number's better, let me take that one. I really appreciated that they went through their spreadsheet and figured out that this one, while on paper at first glance it may not look better, but after you go through it, you could see that it's better. And I know our agents, especially you and some of the other folks, you guys do things like that, don't you? You actually do a deep dive into the contracts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'll say there's something powerful and psychological about the whole rent back flexibility option for someone who needs it, right? In this market, because it is such a strong selling market and it's harder to buy, the clients that then need to take the time to buy, they need that rent back. They need that flexibility. And when you've got multiple offers and one person is like, take up to the 60 days, right? Take the 59 days that you're allowed to take per lender, right? Approval and for free. And and if you find something sooner, that's fine too, right? That whole mentality of flexibility and wanting to work it out and just means so much to some of these buyers, because they're like, oh, I don't necessarily need 60, but it's so nice to have that as a fallback if I need it. And the fact that they're so flexible and, hey, if we find something and we only need 3 weeks, that's great too. That has a big weight, because the part that always confuses me is that if you're in a competitive situation, right, and you're the buyer's agent, you can answer this, like the thought process behind, and they offer and they're asking them to pay for the rent back, right? They're competing, they're escalating, they're waiving contingencies, but then they're putting in a price, a per day price for the rent back. And you're like, well, we know you get your first month free on your mortgage. You can at least give us the 30 days. Like, don't you want to win this thing? And I totally get if it's up to 60 days and that second month, let's say, they're asking for just a very minimal cost or something because it's out of their pocket. I mean, I could maybe see that argument, but for that first 30 days, I don't understand the reluctance to do it in a competitive situation. So what do you think, Eric?
I think it's just it's poor on the agent's part. It's not really explaining to your clients what it means and how effective the rent back is to the seller. And yeah, you have to have that conversation every time, especially for first time home buyers, and on that first offer that you put out there where it's going to have the rent back. Buyers rather, they don't understand it. One, they don't understand why someone needs a rent back. How dare they want to stay in the house after you buy it, kind of thing. That's usually the initial reaction. And two, why on earth would I give it to them for free? And it's not just 30 days that you don't have to pay your mortgage. I mean, it's the rest of that month that you closed in, and then the next month as well. You can roll that in.
It could be,
and so yeah, effectively you can get pretty much 2 months free. And once you explain that to them, I think it's a little bit easier. It's an easier pill to swallow for the buyer to do it. And yeah, shame on agents who aren't explaining that. You should be telling your clients that it's not a lot of money out of pocket for them. The interesting thing that I find is, just the reluctance to want to work with the seller when this is the house you really want. The conversation really becomes, how important is this house to you? Is this the house you really want to win on? Because if you really want to win, the value is what it is to you, not to, what an appraiser says or what the comps say. It's what are you willing to do to go after this house, and how important is this offer going to be to you? And if you win, what's it going to mean to you and your family? So yeah, I try to convey that as best as possible to get them to act, which kind of brings me to my next kind of question. Since we're trying to be kind of quick here, I am going to transition. I'm going to make a segue.
Segue. Let's go.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about and get your opinion was, from a seller standpoint, how do you push your sellers when they're doing something wrong, or when that they're not getting it and they want to do something that's not going to benefit them? are there subtle ways of doing it, or is it just no, you're wrong? I mean, what's your technique, and what have you seen other people do?
So I'll be honest, it depends on where we are in our relationship together, right? So
Yeah.
for us as listing agents, our relationship sometimes starts months to years before they actually go on the market. So when we're talking about trying to get them to, do something like get the home ready, right? That is a building effect, right? We're like, well, they're like, we meet with them and they're like, absolutely, I'm not painting. And then slowly we're like, well, you know what? Let's talk. As you start removing furniture and artwork, you might actually need to do some touch-ups. And if you're doing some touch-ups, you might as well maybe freshen it up with some paint, right? So that's like gentle leading. But if we're in negotiations and right, and I think this is what you're going to, right?
This is what's important to me.
This is what's important because you're like all about the negotiation. So when we get to that point, we're negotiating, and it just depends. Sometimes people get so stuck on winning or getting the most out of things that they forget the human element, right? The reasons, the thoughts behind why someone might ask for something or not. And so just trying to bring it back to the human level and trying to explain it to them in that way helps sometimes. But ultimately they're in charge. It's their house, right? Like I give them the guidance. I give them my expertise. I have before said, depending on the person, like, hey, listen, like I'm looking out for your best interest, and this is what I recommend. But if they still push back and they're like, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to let them do a home inspection for informational purposes or whatever, even though that isn't always in their best interest. But whatever the scenario is, I can't think of one right now. I will just say, what, as long as you understand that this could be the pitfall of it, right? So, hey, I don't recommend allowing them to come in for measurements until after they're through with all their contingencies.
As long as you, right? and that makes a lot of sense too. And it's as buyer agents, we are always trying to push the sellers to allow us to do something that's probably not in their best interest. And sometimes I'll even say that, like before I'll ask the question, I'll say to my client, there's no reason they should let us do this, or it's not in their best interest to let us do this. And I'm always pleasantly surprised when sellers do let us do some of the things we ask to do.
Right.
Exactly. I bring it up too because I'm helping an investor right now, a lovely young couple with a little baby, and they want to get out there and they want to start investing in real estate. And they don't have a huge portfolio, and they haven't done this 20, 30 times. And so every house we're looking at is kind of a fresh start, and they've got big aspirations on how they want this thing to go. And we were looking at one yesterday, and it's a little place in Woodbridge that it was an absolute disaster. I mean, absolute, a townhouse that it's like someone told the previous tenant that there's hidden treasure inside the walls and it's up to you to find it. And there were just holes this big everywhere around this entire place. The carpet looked like there were 10 different forms of DNA on it. It was just anything that was wrong that could possibly be wrong with the house. It could be wrong. And I'm not a contractor. I'm not a mold specialist. I'm not, I'm an agent, right? But I can walk in a house. I have a nose. I have eyes. I have feet. I have senses. And this place was not something you wanted. And they were so like, okay, yeah, this is our first one because the price is right. And I was like, I can't endorse this because you're gonna start on this project and it's just gonna be a money pit. And and it was and you have to realize, okay, it's not my money, it's their money, and it's something that they want to do. But where would I be if I was not telling them that my opinion is this is going to be a disaster for you, and you're going to be paying through the nose to get this thing fixed. And who knows if you're going to turn a profit, in the short term. Their idea is they want to rent it out. And it would take, for this property that was already about $250,000, it would take about at least $120,000, in my opinion, for everything. And that's at, wholesale pricing, to get it fixed. And then the ROI wouldn't be there for the rent. They wouldn't start making money on this project till maybe 4 or 5 years down the line. So it was, and they just kept pushing and pushing. This is the one to do. This is the one to do. And finally I said to him, okay, you know what? Yeah, if this is what you want to do, let's go for it. Let's make the best of it. But how about you start talking to your contractors beforehand and just get an idea on what the costs may be. And maybe even we get them out here in the next day or two, which I'm kind of all over the place. There's not a lot of time in our market to make these kind of decisions too. Even on these like crazy houses. That house went on the market yesterday and it'll be gone by Sunday, right? Even in the condition it's in. But it'll be gone to a flipper. It'll be gone to someone with cash who's going to offer a lot less money, who's going to turn it around and then make their money quickly, not as a rental.
Right.
Long story short, they called me last night and they were like, you know what? We called our contractors. We showed them the pictures that we took and they gave us numbers that were, more than what we anticipated. So you were right. I was like, okay.
Don't you ever think that like being a realtor to some clients is like being a parent to adult children? Right? I mean, like you, okay, you are, let's go through this here. So you have their best interest in heart. You care about them. You're trying to help them, but ultimately they're adults and they're making their own decisions. You can give them recommendations. You can give them really strong recommendations, but they think they know everything, right? Sometimes.
Yeah. They
think
they know better than you.
Right. And they only know what they know through life experience, which they don't have quite yet, but they will get. And I was actually talking to our producer about this right before we came on and you were, taking a break and just say like, you only know what you know. Right. And so that's why you lean on experts, hopefully, and hopefully they listen to us. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't. And then they realize we were right. And sometimes they, so that's, to me, it's very similar, actually.
Sometimes you got to let them fall down. Although I don't want my clients to fall down. Yes. I mean, that's where you kind of draw the line. It's like, yes, I want you to be able to do what you want to do and, feel good about what you do. But I also want you to avoid pitfalls, especially major pitfalls. There's some things I think, especially from the seller's side, if a person decides they don't want to paint, all they're doing is hurting their bottom line. I mean, ultimately the place is going to sell. They're going to do well. It's going to get off the market, but they could have made more if they did this.
They want to overprice their home for like 50. I had a couple that, I met with them. They were like, we're not selling for under 750. And looking at comps, looking at everything, it was not a 750. It was a 7 to 725 home. And, even though they try to fix it up as much as possible, what are the two reasons homes don't sell? Price and condition. Their condition was pretty good. And so it went on the market. And after 4 weeks of stubbornly not moving, they finally listened to me. And I was like, listen, I don't want to do multiple price drops. Let's just do this 725. Big aggressive price drop. And lo and behold, we found that very weekend the perfect buyers that gave us 725 with a 60-day free rent back and avoid a home inspection after 4 weeks on the market, because it really was about price. And they finally listened to mama.
And just like your kids, did you tell them, I told you so, and then smack them on the back of the head?
No, I'm not a told you so person. I don't like that. I've never been that person.
I know. Don't you hate that? Yeah. I don't think I've ever said, I don't know. Our producer can back me up. I don't think I ever said I told you so.
You're like,
Okay.
Maybe
he gave us a thumbs up.
Some veiled I told you so. Like, I mean, maybe I have too. I say I've never.
Look, I'm the king of passive aggressiveness.
Right.
All right, yeah, he's agreeing with that. Um, all right, and then one last, just to wrap up. I've been talking about the same transaction, I think, since episode 1.
Yes.
The one finally closed it.
Yay. So what do you do to celebrate this kind of win for yourself? Because that's like
Oh, you know what?
having
I
this
didn't do
amount of
anything.
stress.
I should have done something for myself. I don't know. No, this was more about, I was just happy, so happy they were happy, you know? It was funny. My buyer said something to me during the final walkthrough when we were going through, and everything was great. We were talking about how our opinion was the sellers were trying to get us to back out of the contract, and actually our lender stepped up big time. I don't know. Can I say who our lender is? I can do that, right?
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
see.
So we're
Monster.
working with Miles Wilson
Mm.
with Movement Mortgage, and he was amazing. And at the very end, knowing that we gave up about $5,800 in subsidy, he found like a $6,000 credit for him. Yeah, that was huge. It was awesome. And they were just over the moon. And at the end, she says to me, she says, we weren't going to let those folks dictate our destiny. I was like,
Mm.
holy smokes, that's
So
deep,
That's so deep. Oh my
right?
gosh. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. She said, they weren't going to dictate our destiny. And this is our house. And I was like, man, that's huge. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to put it over my bed. I don't know why I would put it over my bed, but I'm going to put it
Well, yeah,
somewhere.
that would be weird.
Yeah. Wake up to that. Maybe put it in the bathroom.
Maybe that's a good one on the mirror. I won't let, what is it? I won't let them.
I'm not going to let them dictate my destiny. I won't let them dictate my destiny.
Let them dictate. Or how about like turn it like I dictate my own destiny. Like you make it positive, right? Active. Like
That's definitely a bathroom message.
that is a bathroom message.
I dictate my own destiny.
I love it.
All right. No. All right. Bathroom humor is not for this podcast. Yeah, but no, that one, it was really nice wrapping that up. I would say that to start the year with that one is good, because I don't think I'll have anything as difficult
Knock on wood.
for the rest of the year.
Knock on wood. Yep.
Yeah.
I hope not, because it just sounded like they really put you and your clients through it. And I know there were times you were like just wanting to tell your clients to run, but I'm so glad that you guys stuck it out there for everybody.
Yeah, you know what? To their credit, and I will. I'm absolutely willing to admit when I probably telling them to back out was me putting my own kind of shit towards it, because I just hated the way they were treating them. But the truth of the matter is, yeah, we figured out somewhere along the line that they wanted us to back out. And right. If they were to listen to me earlier, we would have done that. And I appreciate that they wanted to stick through this. And it was one of those instances where, you know, I think I said to them once, I think you guys should back out of this deal. And I also said, I'm not going to tell you that again, because this is on you, and not on you. This is what you want to do, and I don't want to cloud that, and I don't want to confuse you. So if this is what you want to do, I said it the one time, I'm not going to say it again, and everything from here on out is just we're going to figure out how to get to the finish line. And that's what we did. I didn't belabor it, maybe on this podcast more than I did with them. But the bottom line is I learned from it. They learned from it. And end of the day, everyone was really happy. And they are absolutely in the house. So good for them.
That's great.
Good for them.
Happy ending. Yeah. I like happy endings with
our
clients. Yep.
Have you had a massive win so far this year? Or are we still waiting on it?
No, that one, the one I was just saying, the finally getting it under contract in a seller's market 4 weeks. I mean, that just, it felt like I'm a failure if in this market it was not moving, but it was a difficult sell because of many reasons. Price being the number one, obviously, you know, when we start getting feedback like the cul-de-sac is too small, there's not enough parking, right? Like oh, it's close to the townhomes at the edge of the neighborhood. And things you can't control. We know as agents, if you keep hearing this recurring feedback of something that's not in the control of the sellers, it's actually a price objection. So,
Yes.
Trying to explain that to my clients is like, no, they're not mentioning, the windows being old reason. They're mentioning things that basically tell us it's just too expensive for what you're offering, right? So, so I was very happy to get it under contract with a lovely, lovely, amazing military family. And so I'm excited for
it. That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Couple of wins for the first quarter. Yes.
Yes. Yay. And
are you having a good first quarter? Everything going the way you want it to go?
You know what? I feel like my first quarter has been a building towards the rest of the year. Kind of, my momentum was off because I had a baby. And so I spent this whole first quarter building up my pipeline again. As we know, in real estate, especially on the listing side, we work ahead. And so, I feel really good about where I am today. Looking forward, I think I finally have caught back up, but it took a little time. It's, in this business, when you work in any business where you work commission based, I think there's you put a lot of trust and faith in yourself and in the systems that are created and in your team. If you have a team, in order to feel good about picking up the slack when times are slower. So
that's the biggest thing for me too. It's like everything ebbs and flows, and it's being able to navigate the ebbs to get to those flows. And I kind of feel this not the same way for the first quarter, but from the buyer side, I think it's been a little more difficult this first quarter as opposed to last first quarter. And I think it's partially, well, not partially, it has everything to do with the inventory. There was this big leftover of inventory of homes that were kind of not ideal in November, December that carried over to January, which weren't really viable homes. Those weren't the real ones. And the new homes that came on in the first quarter, there were so few of them, and they all sold so quickly that I've actually had a couple of clients that are questioning whether or not they're going to buy because of the way the market has played out. And that's been tough for me to navigate this first quarter. It's been different than in the past. I don't know about you, what you're seeing, but the way prices are going up from the list price, I think is a little shocking. I mean, we as a team, we've had homes that sold for over $200,000 over the asking price. And I mean, there's certain areas right now in Springfield, for example, where I think they're averaging like 100,000 over the asking price. And that's been scary for some of my buyers. Some of my buyers kind of feel like they won't be able to compete. And the first quarter has been a lot of kind of damage control, for lack of a better term, like letting folks know that it's not going to be this bad. Let's hang in. Let's try to weather this part and see where the market takes us and where rates go, which doesn't seem great either.
Not good. Well,
but,
I'll say last first quarter, it was also crazy. We were also seeing escalation 50 to 100,000. The difference was the interest rates were so low that their monthly payments were still reasonable. But when you escalate on a home 50, 100,000 over in today's rates, I mean, that is such a high payment. I mean, to think about someone paying, I was talking to one of our buyer agents in the office, and they said their client was buying a townhome and their monthly payment was going to be something like $5,400 for a townhome. And I'm like, what? I can't wrap my head around that, because that just sounds insane to me. But they didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to buy. And so, I was like, that was a bit of fancy townhome, but But I mean, that's
obviously that's the nicest townhome on the block. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
it
that's
better
the
be.
reality. Wow. So.
All right. Well, we've been doing this for about 30 minutes or plus right now, and we're trying to shorten them up a little bit and be more concise. And I think we're doing a great job at it. What do you think, Nicole?
I think, I listened to our last podcast. I felt like we were getting a much better rhythm. I think we're good. We're focused on this real estate stuff, Although
the Oscars are this weekend. So
okay, we got to watch them.
Yeah, we won't do bets, but we'll come back. Right. Maybe we'll talk about it because I'm a cinephile.
Like things like the Chris Rock special and last year's Oscars. Like we're not.
Did you watch it?
I did watch it. We watched it live. It was.
I watched about 40 minutes of it. Actually, no, a little bit, about 30 minutes of it. I didn't get to the Will Smith jokes.
That was okay. I started it. I was dozing off. I woke up right as the Will Smith stuff started.
Dang it!
I know, and I was like, okay, this is why I watched it. So yeah.
Was it good? Was the Will Smith stuff good? Don't spoil it for me.
No, I'm not going to spoil it. I will say like it was less funny, haha, as it was like, stick it to him. You know what I mean? Like.
Good. All right. I'll check it out.
Rock's right? That's what he's good at. It was like, the digs. I was like,
That's what I want to see. I want him to punch back metaphorically. All right. Yeah. So do us a favor, guys. We are getting better. I think we're fantastic. I think this might be the best real estate podcast to ever be recorded. Don't you agree?
Sure. Yes. Yay.
Yes. Give us 5 stars on that alone. 5 stars, like and subscribe. Come back every week. Although we are going to wrap up our season here pretty soon. What do you think, Mr. Producer? How many more do we have left in this season? Two more. And then we're going to revamp and come back with a brand new season. We'll probably bring in a baby because every second season of a series has a baby in it. And Savannah will be the third podcaster.
Your turn.
Oh, my turn? No.
No.
That's not happening. Yeah, no. A baby puppy, maybe. Yeah. All right, so like and subscribe. Give us 5 stars. Come back next week for what, Nicole?
Real Agents of Change.
Fun.
Real Agents of Change.
Real Agents of Change.
And Real Agents of
Real Estate. We'll see you next week. Bye.